Okay. Okay. I think we're doing a show. What? Oh, look at that. So far, so good. I think I was just telling Steve, I think this is going to be the first week where all of the tech actually works the way that I planned for it to work, which is like, I'm real proud of myself. Big pat on my own back. Welcome to Tetris Talk. I'm Rebecca Marquardt. I'm your host. I'll be playing Tetris today. But I am excited to welcome my old friend, Steve Gadlin. Steve Gadlin gave me my first job when I moved to Chicago, running the box office at the Playground Theater for a show that he was doing there. We'll chat plenty about that. You might know him as the I Want to Draw a Cat for You guy from Shark Tank. He's been on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He created a ton of shows in Chicago with BLEWT Productions, a fabulous group of people. He's just an all-around swell guy with a lot of amazing creative ideas. So I'm super excited to welcome him. Please welcome Steve Gadlin.
Hi, how are you,
We're
Rebecca?
doing it. Uh-oh, wait, I can't hear you. Oh, come on. I told myself it was going to work this time. Wait, say something.
Am I muted? No, it doesn't look like
What
it. You can't hear me?
happened? I know, I'm not getting you now. What did I do? I really thought it was going to work this time. I was so confident.
What should I do? Do you want me to?
Oh, see, it's coming through one place.
Yeah, and the captions are hearing me.
Why isn't it coming through my audio?
You'll just have to read the captions as I talk.
Weird. Well, what if I just do this? Oh, wait, can I hear myself? Oh, I can't hear the game either. I don't know what happened because this happened earlier where the audio just stopped feeding into this and then later it started again.
Yeah, I can hear myself on Facebook too.
You what?
I can hear myself on Facebook too.
That's good. Yeah, you're in the stream. You're just not in my thing. Okay, well, that's okay. I can listen to you on my phone and then I'm going to turn on the volume for my game on my screen because, fun fact, I cannot play Tetris if I can't hear the audio, which I didn't know until I tried to do this show.
That is
like, I don't need to listen to the game. And it was like, oh, apparently my brain hears the little beep, beep, beep. And it's like, oh, that was 3 over. And like, somehow I can register that very quickly. I don't know. Okay. This is weird because I also hear myself through my phone, which is great. That's what we all love is to hear.
Well, that's always terrifying. Yeah, to hear yourself. I've got earplugs in my ears now just so that I can't hear myself speaking. It's that discomforting. So
yeah, no, that's relatable. Okay, so I'm gonna take these off. Where are we? I have my whole little outline so that I'm so professional, except I'm not because I'm talking about the outline that I need to reference to be able to do this show. Steve, how long has Talkin' 2020 been up and running again?
Yeah, so Talkin' Funny 2020 took about a 15-year hiatus. And then one day during COVID, I dreamt about it. And I woke up and I was like, I think tech might be to the point where I can actually do this again. So, like yourself, kind of started, figuring out how to work this stuff and found a software called StreamYard that made it super easy. So the short answer to your question, we've been back this will be week number 22 tomorrow. So 22 weeks. Oh my gosh. It's been quite a pandemic, huh?
Okay, there we go. You can hear me, right?
Oh, now
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Now I'm back. Okay, good. All right. So we're just skipping the good audio and going with the phone audio. It's fine. Sometimes you just got to improvise. So you started like right when the pandemic hit. Like you were just like, let's go for this.
Yeah, although it felt like we got a late start. It felt like by the time I started, a lot of other creatives were already all on top of this. It was like live stream stand-up shows, live stream everything. So I felt a little late to the game, but people weren't, you've managed to do some pretty amazing stuff with the tech, but people were really just looking for the easiest way to do this and like just publicly broadcasting a Zoom meeting. So it was cool with StreamYard to get like, some video, some overlays and some really fun.
Make it a little more professional looking and polished and whatnot.
Yeah.
That
makes people think you've been doing it for longer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks great. Like the
Thank
way that
you.
you've implemented things. I've been finding, like, I'm trying to figure out what exactly you call the position. Oh, I never switched us to I started playing and I never switched so that you could actually see my
I
game.
was wondering.
Duh.
There you
Oh,
go.
whoops. Well, and I'm already like doing terribly.
Oh, there you
So
go.
far so good. I'm trying to figure out what the position is called, because I'm finding like companies that have money and
Yeah.
they're doing live stream panels and things like that online, and they're just, it's like Zoom, or I can tell that they're using StreamYard, but they haven't even figured out how to just like add a background graphic or something.
Yeah.
So it's just like a bunch of faces on there at the same time with nothing else added. And I'm like, what is that position called? And how do I tell them to hire me for that job? Because I
No,
would be
that's
very
great. I think
good
it's
at it.
digital producer. I think digital producer is what you want to go with. And
Digital producer. Okay, I'm gonna get back on LinkedIn and see what I can find there.
but you're right in that
updated-
companies don't know that quality production makes a difference. So it's really a sell, to get them to understand.
Yeah. I think it's possible to make something work well, even if you don't have like the insane production value. Like if the content is there, people will be there with you, even if it's not super well done. But
Yeah.
having that extra edge just puts you like head and tails above what else. Like, it's like they expect if it's good and people start watching that it's going to pick up and it's going to get there.
Sure. I think it
So it's like-
actually it helps a lot in booking guests if it looks more professional than it is, as much as you can mask
Yeah.
it. And people,
If
oh
it's-
yeah, I'll come do your thing. That sounds cool.
Yeah, the online equivalent of like come to this theater company instead of like come hang out in my apartment and just talk to me for a while.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I don't even know the order of the projects of yours that I'm most familiar with. So where are you from originally?
I'm from Chicago. I grew up in Skokie.
Okay.
And I've
Then-
never really lived outside the Chicago area, save for college in Ohio. But
Where'd you go in Ohio?
I went to Miami of Ohio in Oxford.
Okay.
Ohio.
Okay. What did you study in school?
I was all over the place. I started school with the idea that I would be a huge radio star. So I was in mass comm.
Okay.
And then I was quickly discouraged by realizing that people aren't just going to look at you and say, wow, you'd be a great radio star. You actually need to learn how radio works and how to report. And I wish, older me could tell younger me, hey, dude, stick with it. That's smart. But I bounced majors a lot. I was an education major then for a while, and then ultimately graduated with a creative writing degree.
Nice.
But,
If you were teaching in like a school setting, what subject do you think you would teach?
Probably creative writing or
English writing, kind of. Yeah.
something like that. I don't know that I'm qualified to beyond a bachelor's degree, but I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know who would trust me in a room full of minds. Multiple
I don't know
minds.
if all of our teachers get sent home with COVID soon, they'll probably get desperate and they'll be like, anybody?
That's true. Good point. I'll keep an eye.
Yeah. Your dream still might be able to.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really funny.
Okay, so you were in Miami of Ohio, and then did you
Yeah.
come right back to Chicago afterward?
I did. I was doing a lot of improv at college. And funny enough, when I was in Chicago before college, I knew about Second City and Improv Olympic and those places, but I just wasn't interested in any of that at all. And then when I started doing improv in college, I thought, oh, well, okay, I guess I'll go back home and try to be amazing and all this stuff. But then came to Chicago and hit, again, kind of story of my life, was frustrated by no one's just going to point at me and be like, wow, you're amazing. Here, do all the shows. It was a lot of work and a lot of networking and a lot of socializing, all things I'm just terrible at. So I had a rough time doing improv, when I came back to Chicago. It was super frustrating and depressing. So I started just making my own shows because I'm a control freak. And I thought, okay, well, this way I can skip the part where I have to go socialize and I don't know. It was a little easier for me to do that kind of stuff.
Well, okay, so what were your earliest projects? Because all of the stuff that I knew from you in Chicago had these just like massive creative teams. Like it was you know,
Yeah.
large casts full of people with multiple guest performers in every show, and like,
Yeah.
and to me it was you have this like very, like, your ideas are completely different from what everybody else is doing, right? And I think that is a really hard thing to do when you don't have that
Sure.
blueprint of like, oh, that person does what I do, so I want to make something like that. I'll do what they did.
Yeah. It was super
And-
hard.
Yeah, but it just like, it seemed like you just sort of came blazing in and you were like, this is what I got. And people were
I'm
like,
glad it
yeah, I'll
looked
do
like
that
that.
with you.
No, I'm really happy that it appeared like that. Definitely. So the first stuff I was doing were just these videos called Silly Faces and Silly Dances, and they were just these hour-long, terrible films of people making silly faces and stuff. And I would just show up at the theater with the camera and be like, "Hey, will you can you stand against that wall and make silly faces for 2 minutes for me?" And with
People
that-
were like, be on camera? Yes, please.
Yeah, right. So, you know, I have some cool, funny clips of like people who went on to some pretty big things. Like Lauren Lapkus was in Silly Horse Whispering, which was just people whispering at a toy horse for 2 minutes. So I got that clip. But no, so that the first show was really Don't Spit the Water. And by the time that one came to, I had actually booked out the theater for a sketch show with my improv team, and we were going to write a sketch show, and then it was like 2 weeks before the show and no one had written a sketch show. And Mark Henderson
It's always
let me
good.
out of my agreement, so literally on a lunch
Wow.
break I wrote up an outline for Don't Spit the Water, and I think posted about it on the improv message board, and enough people were like, yeah, that sounds crazy, I'll try it, you know. And
Yeah.
fortunately, I mean, the first show was a disaster. It was terrible. But then from that point on, we ran it for about 5 years. And you're right, there was a great community of people who helped make that show a show beyond the germ of an idea, right? It was
Yeah.
it couldn't have happened for that long without some, you know, people came and went in waves too. It had a lot of different lives, but you know, it was a good crew. And then we did Impress These Apes after that with a lot of those same core people, and that went on for about 8 seasons. And you know, same thing. It just the ideas are the ideas, but it was always the group of people that I lucked into meeting that helped me make those things.
Yeah. Did you know any of those folks from Miami of Ohio, or was that all
yeah.
just sort of like found along the way in Chicago?
A couple of them. So Timekeeper Willis from Don't Spit the Water was a friend of mine from college, but the rest who came to Chicago were mostly still doing like long form improv and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
and then yeah, so actually not really. It wasn't really a big Miami of Ohio crowd. It was you know, Erica Reed and I became friends pretty early on when she moved from Mississippi, and she was really good at making friends. I wasn't. So it was really fortunate to have her involved early because
Hey,
she was
that's
making
like-
friends. And
100%. Like every social thing I do, like especially comedy things, like I am that person that like I see somebody perform and I'm like, oh, that person is part of my people. Like I'm supposed to
Yeah.
know this person. So I'm like, cool, I'll hang out and I'll introduce myself after the show.
yeah.
And then I just turn into that creep that's like sitting in the corner waiting for the right opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my God. And now I've worked myself into this like anxious ball of nervousness. And now if I do talk to them, I'm like, hi, my name is Rebecca and I don't have any friends and we should make a show together. And it's like, oh, and then I would just leave because it was like, this is not good for my mental health. I'm just going to go home.
Absolutely. That was when I was doing shows at IO. That's what my life there was like, and I hated it. So I really retreated to the safety of doing shows at the playground where I felt more comfortable with people and less pressure to be
Yeah.
great. And you know, at IO, I felt so much pressure to like be part of a scene if I wanted to succeed, and I'm just not wired that way. I couldn't hang out. I would literally do a show, and then generally I remember every show I ever did at IO was followed by a lonely walk in the rain back to the train, where I would sometimes then ride back to Evanston, and it was just so sad. But I don't know.
No, like I relate very much to that. And I also remember sometimes those like long walks in the rain being the best part of the night, because it was like, I left. I'm not there anymore. I'm not feeling out of place. I'm not feeling the pressure to try to go and like meet the people I can make the thing with and do da 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 da.
Yeah. I think, and I think I think you have found this too, right? It's that when you're just doing something you're excited about, either people gel to it or they don't, right? And in some situations they do, right? And I don't know. So it's hard though to get that mindset when you're looking at the rewards people are getting for being talented and great. You know, it's
and do it like excelling at something that is like, there's a standard path for this, and these people are really good at the thing involved in that standard path. And I'm like, I want to do that. And it's like, but that's not my path. And it's so hard to just kind of step back and go, okay, I can learn from this environment, but this isn't necessarily what I need to be doing. So I need to keep focusing on my own thing. And
yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you, there was no real joy at the time in doing my own thing. There's always a great deal of feeling like, well, it's because I'm failing at the thing you're supposed to be good at. I'm doing this fringe thing, but I'll never quite get the respect of someone who is doing well at the other thing, you know. And I still cling to that, you know. It's always really hard to like to really divorce yourself from that. I don't know, that whatever you call it.
Yeah, no, just that. I don't know. It's see, but I think everybody, it doesn't matter like what field you're in. You see people doing the thing you're trying to do and they're doing it well, and you're like, why can't I? I'm smart, I'm capable, I should be able to accomplish it. And then it's just like, but that's just not, you know.
Yeah, and there was a point after Shark Tank too where I was having this conversation with someone and they're like, dude, no, you went on Shark Tank, you got to do all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but that was like, I was a contestant on a show. Well, I'm talking about like have their own show.
Yeah.
That's what I don't want to be some schmuck on someone else's show. I want to be the show, man.
Well, and it's the difference between like patting you on the back for going viral, where you're like, okay, but that was never the goal. The fame was never the goal. The getting the subscribers was never the goal. The goal was building a sustainable thing where you can just create your thing.
Absolutely.
And hopefully make it with people you like, and you know.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the stuff I tried to do creatively was always sort of made to fit around the life I was already living. You know, I started drawing cats because I got tired of going out to shows. You know, I couldn't. I was like, what can I do stupid from home? So I started. I'll start a company where I'll do that. And
what? Yeah. Did you like? Do you enjoy drawing? Was that like a hobby? And you were just like, I think this could be funny if I just made a company where I offer to draw cats for people.
Yeah, it wasn't a hobby. I mean, when I look back on it, when I was in high school, I was drawing this comic strip called Silly Cat Comics, and when I was in college, I drew this Silly Cat thing. And there was even a moment with my parents where they were yelling at me for drawing these comics instead of paying attention in class, and I was like, promise you, my first million is going to be on the back of this stick figure cat. And I didn't even think of that stuff till like a year after Shark Tank, or you know, it was just such a
you're like, I forgot about that thing.
Yeah, right. So I was I just wanted a dumb company because I like digital marketing, I like building websites, I like making silly commercials, and I'm like, well, it'd be a lot cooler if I actually had a product to do those things. So what was the cheapest, easiest product?
Startup.
Well, and I told my coworkers, I'm like, I'm going to sell these stick figure cats. I bet you I'm going to sell a lot of these. And they're like, you're crazy. And then, I sold a handful
it started
of
with like
friends,
a Groupon, right? Like the Groupon thing was the first
sort of
launching point.
Yeah, it was around for almost a year before the Groupon thing came about. And I had sold like about 100. And then Groupon, on a whim, I asked them to run a Groupon back when like Groupon was Groupon. Yeah. And they ran it. Some salesman was like, I'll give this a shot. And he ran it as a side deal. And like, it was a side deal in a locality. So it was in like California and no one else got the email. And it wasn't even the main deal. But then they sold out of 1,000 of them like right away because Reddit and Fark and all these websites are like, is this the dumbest Groupon of all time?
Let's all buy it.
Yeah. And I remember getting up at midnight when it went live to buy one because I didn't want it to have 0 purchases.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then
That's
just slowly
relatable.
watched it. Oh yeah,
Like,
sure.
I'll go ahead. I'll just watch it once on YouTube just to make sure it uploaded correctly, not because
Smart.
I want to get a number of views.
Of course. No, you always should.
That's
Um,
funny.
And
Well,
that was
I
a
told-
fun journey.
I told my cousin that you were joining me this evening, and she got so excited. And she was like, "Oh
Oh,
my
fun.
God, that was my favorite episode of Shark Tank!" And I immediately got online and bought 3 cats. And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds right."
Oh, that's great. I bet I could pull those up too. That's funny. Yeah, so I stopped, like I would quit several, I had like 3 or 4 retirements, and some were even like, there were newspaper articles about, oh, the cat drawing guy is retired from cat drawing. And
Yeah.
but then I just started again on Cameo
Mhm.
because it's fun, and if people are going to pay me for it, that's great. But I always get tired of the medium. I got tired of drawing them with Sharpie and then mailing them. So I
Yeah.
started doing Apple Pencil, and I just got tired of opening up my iPad to do
Yeah.
them. It's I'm a real snoot, right? If someone's gonna pay me $10 for a stick figure, the least I could do is like be excited about it.
Yeah.
But,
Well, that's, it's like this little endeavor here where it's like I'm excited about it, but it's also just like getting the tech stuff set up partly because I obviously am still having issues like nailing the audio where I know every time it's going to work.
yeah, of course.
That it's like, it takes me almost 2 hours just to like get this set back up and ready to go for one show because it's such a different setup from everything else that I stream
Yeah.
that it's like I'm like rewiring the whole machine, like all my Zoom settings. The next time when I join Zoom tomorrow for something, I'm gonna be like, oh God, I forgot I'm connected to this and that other, and it's gonna be like, what, is Rebecca here? It says she's here. I don't see her. What's happening?
I gotta tell you though, this is a brilliant concept, and I didn't quite understand it until I'm here watching it. I'm like, wait a second, she's tapping into this whole other audience of people who like watch people play games.
Well,
She's sneaking in
eventually
the
I
interview.
might tap into that audience.
Okay.
That's,
you know,
eventually it'll get there. But yeah, it's been an interesting. So like I moved to New York 5 years ago, and I started like the whole time I was. Well, okay, let me backtrack. So I moved to Chicago in 2008. And that first job you gave me was with Don't Spit the Water. So I was doing the
remember
box office.
That's awesome.
For folks. For folks watching at home who aren't familiar, Don't Spit the Water was a game show where contestants would get pulled up from the audience. They would fill their mouths full of water, like as much water as they could possibly fit in their mouths. And then comedians would come out and they would get like 2 minutes or something to try to make you laugh so hard that you spit the water. And whoever won the game won a grand prize. And I think it was usually a pickle.
Oh, for a while we had a pickle sponsorship. Yeah, there were pickles.
Yeah, and it was like a giant pickle in a pouch, and like that,
Yeah.
It was just like what? But it was the perfect prize for that show, honestly.
That's right. Sometimes we had, usually it was no prize. We'd say, oh, it's a cake, and then the guy in the booth would say, oh, I pooped. And all right,
Yeah.
well, there's no cake.
Ah, no cake.
Yeah, and that played well week after week for.
That's
for
funny.
years. I remember, that was so. I do remember you coming on board and being a box office girl.
Yeah, and I feel like I like aggressively solicited trying to get that job because I think you posted on the Chicago Improv Network, and I didn't live in Chicago. Like I saw it when I was still in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And I was like, I have to have this. This has to be this is the start for me. This is where everything begins.
That's great.
And I was like emailing you, and I was trying to figure out, and this is pre-Zoom and Skype. So it was like, how do I get this position? I don't remember exactly how I got it, what the details were, if we had like a phone call.
You replied, so you got it.
Or if you were just like, yay, somebody's willing. And in my mind, I was like one of thousands of applicants. And I was like, please pick me.
Never thousands of applicants for anything I've ever.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But while I was in Chicago, like I bought a camera and I was teaching myself how to make videos and didn't really I wasn't really focused on trying to do anything. I knew I wanted to like make film and television eventually. So it was like, well, I'll just kind of goof around with my own little projects. And then I figured out the acapella looping covers because I saw Reggie Watts opening for Conan O'Brien after Conan O'Brien's like I got fired from NBC tour. And he was so great. And I played in all these cover bands and I was like, oh my gosh, I could use that instrument that he's using to be an entire cover band by myself.
Yeah.
And so it was like the very early introduction to what would eventually turn into an entire YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But then
are you still doing those?
sort of.
Because
like
you had a huge freaking following, man.
Well,
I was so impressed. It was great.
I think my peak subscribership on YouTube was like 7,100.
Okay.
And that one, so it was like I committed to it, and I was like, I'm gonna post new covers every single day, which in retrospect I'm like, I don't know how the hell I even pulled that off for one week, let alone any, but I went so hard. And so the first week I posted 5 covers in 1 week, and they were all like, because I'm OCD and I'm a music nerd, it was like they have to be perfect and they have to be done in 1 take. And so I would spend all day just trying to get 1 take of the one song, and then that was all that I accomplished. And I'd upload it, and it, over the course of like a couple of weeks would maybe break like 100 views or something. And it's like you get into YouTube and it becomes that weird thing of like, you have to do something that you're passionate about and that you love, but also you have to try to like gear it toward what will help develop an audience, or else eventually you lose interest and burn out.
Yeah.
And so I got to the point where I was like, I upload covers whenever I can. And then I was on tour with a kids show, Odd Squad Live. I don't know if your kids ever watched Odd Squad on PBS.
No, but I remember when you got that gig.
That show saved my life, because just in my own personal life, like everything turned to crap in the middle of that tour.
Okay.
But it was like halfway, it was toward the end of the tour. I think it was like a week before tour ended. Somebody posted my Biggie cover on Reddit, and it made it to the front page, and I got 5,000 subscribers overnight, and 250,000 views. And it was like, it was insane. But then, you go to post the next cover and you're like, oh, baby, like, all right, I got 5,000 subscribers. So that's at least 5,000 views. And then they'll post it to Reddit. And so I bet I could hit like 15, because in my head, I'm trying to figure out like, how can I get enough viewership on these that I can get a sponsor and I can make this my job?
Right.
Because then you can actually commit to it. And then in my head, it was like, oh, these looper covers will lead to like building a platform. And then once I have a platform, then I'll have an audience to create the things for, and then I'll have the audience to help invite other people in, because I don't want to be like, hey, Steve, come be on my Tetris talk show that nobody watches, because it's really good and it has potential, because like, but when you're like, I feel like I haven't earned that yet. But so it was like, that was the goal, was like build up a platform. And then I posted my first cover after going viral. And I think eventually it reached like 4,000 views, which is still good.
Okay.
But it very quickly became apparent that what people wanted was more rap covers.
Right.
And then that starts to get into tricky territory of like, well, no, if all I am now is like a white lady who does goofy covers of rap songs on YouTube, that just goes into cultural appropriation, as opposed to I do goofy covers of songs I like, and all that you can do on a looper is like pop and rap. So it's like finding that balance where I'm like, I don't know, I want to make these, and I do love rap, but I also don't want to, so it's like finding that balance. But then there's also the issue of like, they're covers, so I'm not creating anything original. I'm doing a very original take on somebody else's original thing.
Yeah.
But it just, it was like, oh, I burned out, it felt like. So I want to find a balance of ideally, I would have people come collaborate with me, where it's like, I'll do the loops, you come in and take half the verses, I take half the verses, but that's a hard thing to do virtually. So it's kind of like, someday I'll make that happen.
It's, the same thing with drawing cats, where I tried to spin so many things off of that surge of publicity after Shark Tank appeared, and not one of them resonated. All people wanted was the fucking cat drawing. Like, that's nice that you have this other creative project that is interesting to you. We saw you on TV. Will you do the doodle that you do? Like, just do that.
It's like, I like that one thing that you did. So can you just keep doing that? So
but
like,
I think you'll find that you can siphon like small numbers of people into your other projects, but it's never like, oh, good, I've got the 5,000. That's going to equal 5,000 views every. No.
Yeah. Well, I take some hope in like, even like big YouTubers, and seeing when they branch out and try to do like, okay, Casey Neistat, I don't know if you know any like vloggers or you follow anybody on YouTube, but he's a vlogger who, he started making daily vlogs and he blew up. He's got like 12 million subscribers, and now he's kind of just taking a break to raise his family. And But it's, like he started 368, which is the thing I was telling you about earlier, the like studio space in New York. And then that kind of like petered out, and now it's just a gaming thing. It's not for YouTube creators. And I don't even know that he has anything to do with it anymore.
Yeah.
So like, it's as much as it sucks to be like, wow, even he can't pull it off. It's like, all right, well, that's good. And it's just another reminder to be like, no, just make the things you're excited about. And unless it's paying your bills, if you get tired of it, like just don't break your neck trying to make other people happy, because they're just going to keep wanting cat drawings.
Yeah. With Talking Funny, it's been fun. Like we've been able to get some pretty impressive guests, I think, we have
absolutely
on the show. And, but like, I still do a live stream, and it's like, I don't think I've hit through StreamYard 100 concurrent viewers yet.
Yeah.
I'll get the views across multiple platforms, and people
eventually over
time.
Yeah,
but I just want like, what a whiny thing for a creative to say, but what's it gonna take to get? I know there are 100 people out there who would enjoy the show.
100%.
Why can't I get 100 of them tuned in at the same time? But it's I guess I move forward with the philosophy of, to me, it's always the highlight of my week. It's I guess there was I'm going to go off on a tangent. There was an album that John Benjamin put out. John Benjamin does voices on a lot of cartoons and TV shows that I dig. And he put out a jazz album where he plays piano along with the jazz quartet, and he's never played the piano before. So it's an album of just him messing around on the piano. And I read a review of it that really resonated with me. It was, you can't listen to this thing, but it's really important to know that it exists. And that's it. And I think with all my projects, that's like, okay, I wouldn't wish, I'm not going to force you to sit through and watch it, but it's more the concept that this happened.
Yeah. This is a thing that's out there in the world.
Yeah. And that might be interesting to people 50 years from now that, that it existed.
So part of my deal with like trying to get good at running tech and like developing shows for the internet is, so I have this production company that I'm launching. I keep saying I'm launching it, and then I keep coming up with excuses to not start it yet.
Sure.
But I want to create sort of a platform where it's like I can have loose show structures that comedians can show up to and just play, but that it's the kind of content that I think there's already sort of a market for in the internet watching audience. And then my hope is that over time, we sort of train internet audiences to what other kind of content there is out there on the internet. Because the problem is I feel like a lot of creative people, like studious craft people who are like, I'm going to be the best at doing heralds. They, as soon as the internet content became available and it was all like vloggers just talking about their day or doing prank jokes, like, the creative people were just like, oh, that's not worthy of my time. I'm doing something really important. Yeah. And so we just never made that content. So the internet was like, okay, I guess what we have available to us is prank videos and vlogs and things. And so it's like, we have to get in there and say, no, look at all this other cool stuff that's out there, but you can't, they're never going to know to find it if they don't know it's there. So it's like, I guess I'm using the exact same philosophy that I was just like, it doesn't work, which is like, try to create a platform through stuff that might work online, and then hopefully introduce them to something new.
So something that worked really well with Don't Spit the Water was, I think the reason we had a really cool cast around that show was we were giving people a performance opportunity that they didn't have anywhere else. It was like, you're doing your improv thing, that's fine, or you're doing your scripted work or your stand-up, that's fine. But here, you get to put on a weird-ass costume. You get to come up with your dumbest, lowest common denominator material and just be an idiot for a while, right? And that I think is, not to say that translates directly to what you're saying, but I think that's where the opportunity is kind of, creating that platform where the creative people go, oh, I can fly my freak flag. There is a spot for it, and someone's already got it set up, and it's not going to be a lot of work for me, right? Like, this show you're doing right now is awesome because there's so much tech behind it that your guests don't have to understand a lick of it. Yeah.
Like, can you get on Zoom? Great.
Yeah. So, that kind of stuff I think is always important.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like, it's because like there are YouTube channels out there, and you don't have to have millions of subscribers to be able to make money making videos on YouTube, right? It's like if you can just develop a loyal enough following between Patreon and sponsored videos, you can make money. So it's like, great. If I can figure out how to consistently bring the right people to a show that we can start to develop a following, then I can pay people, right? Everybody that comes on the show gets paid. Oh, man. I'm so excited. I'm ruining my game. It's okay. Yeah, but just, you know, the idea that it's like, this is almost like a theater company that's online. So come to me, tell me what your idea is for a show. I'll help you kind of shape it in a way that I think will help work on the internet. And then I'll add the tech to it, and then we'll just do it and we'll see what happens. But it's like the internet thing is all about longevity. Like either you're like, I'm going to make this one dumb video that I think can go viral, and then good luck trying to repeat it after that, because for the most part with videos, it's like once you do it once, people just lose interest. Like unless you can find a way to keep producing similar content that's just different enough, like Sarah Cooper with her lip syncing Trump quotes. It's like he gives her material for days. She will never run out of content. Every time he says something dumb, people are going to tune into her Twitter and be like, when are you going to do this video? But, you know, even with the looping videos to some degree, it's like they've seen it and they're like, all right, you know, maybe if you do a cover of a song I'm specifically really excited about, I'll come back and watch it again.
Sure.
But I don't know. Okay, so I have a couple of specific questions. You're Facebook friends with Carol Baskin?
I am. Well, you know, we cat adjacent celebrities band together.
Is that really how that happened?
So I booked her on Cameo when she first showed up on Cameo, and she was only charging like $40. Now she's like $300 on Cameo. It's this app where you can find celebrities and ask them to say something. And I had her do a promo for Talkin' Funny. And I do a lot of these celebrity promos for Talkin' Funny through Cameo where they all read the exact same script. So it seems like totally insincere, like, you know, Ed Asner, Carol Baskin, I had Rod Blagojevich, just all reading the exact same
Joe
script.
Arpaio, and I was like,
Joe Arpaio.
What? Which, if people aren't familiar, he's the racist sheriff from Arizona.
And he can't wait to check out Talkin' Funny 2020. So with Carol, I did that, and then I messaged her after. I'm like, look, I've been messaging you. I've been going through your PR. I'd really like to book you on my show. And just so you know, I'm not in like some schmuck. Here's a clip. I was on Shark Tank and I did this cat drawing thing, and maybe I could draw some cats for you for Big Cat Rescue. And then like a couple hours later, she sent me a friend request on Facebook, and I was like, whoa. And I accepted it, and I'm like, Carol? She goes, yeah,
Is this really you?
Watched your video. I loved it. I thought it was great. So we chat from time to time. And then when she got put on Dancing with the Stars, I made her a Carol Baskin Vote for Me Dancing with the Stars cat. And she posted it on Facebook and said, yeah, check out Steve's cat drawing. And she was really cool about it.
That's
so
awesome.
Chums now. And
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Carol's totally innocent, so she's a good person. And
that's good.
Didn't kill her husband or nothing. Just for the record. I'm Team Carol.
I watched the first episode of that series.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know why everybody thought this was so weird, because I thought it was a documentary singular. I didn't realize it was a series. And so I was like, yeah, that was pretty wild, but I don't understand what all the hubbub is about.
Stranger with every episode.
Well, yeah, and then somebody referenced something and I was like, are you talking about something different from me? And they were like, no, it's in episode 3 or something. And I was like, I'm sorry, there's more. I was like, okay, never mind. Yeah, that's a lot.
Maybe you were just watching Animal Planet or something.
Yeah, I was like, it just seems like they all like cats. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yep, so me and Carol are besties, and I'm hoping we can get her on Talkin' Funny once. I mean, now that she's on Dancing with the Stars, it's going
to be a little harder.
But
well, the publicity around it will die down someday, and then just like all of us, she'll be looking for that next thing.
Exactly.
So she'll be like, is Talkin' Funny still happening, and may I be on soon?
I'm sure that's coming. Yeah.
It's funny. Oh man. Okay, so the Nairobi project.
Yes.
I did not get to see that one, and I don't know why
Okay.
I didn't see it, because I remember when it happened, and I remember being like, this is amazing, and I have to see it. And then I'm
Thanks.
sure it was just like that Chicago performer thing where it was like,
Oh,
oh,
of
I have
course.
8 shows this week, so I can't see it this week, but maybe
Yeah.
next week. And then it's like, oh, it closed. I don't know what happened. Okay, so
Yeah.
let me see if I get this right. So a playwright from Nairobi sent you, I mean, basically like a spam email that was like, if you'll give me this much money, I'm trying to get a play produced, written. I'll let you
had a
do it.
play
You'll do
already
it better.
written, and he
Okay.
wanted $30,000 and said, "You're gonna make a ton of money on this play." And
Uh-huh.
I didn't say yes, but I said, "Well, I'll give you $50 if you write me a play." And I gave him a ridiculous plot, and he wrote the play and got us $50, and then we performed it word for word at the Annoyance. And then he wrote me a sequel, and we performed that. And then he's
Oh, I
written-
didn't know there was a sequel.
Yeah, he wrote a sequel, and then he wrote a third that's a musical that we haven't produced, as well as a 10-episode soap opera murder mystery that has not been produced.
Oh
And
my
also
gosh.
A script called The Big Lebowski 2, which is a sequel to the first movie, although he's never seen it. Which we did as a staged reading. Angie McMahon produced a Zoom reading of that recently. These have been collecting dust for years. And I
That's
still
incredible.
think it's like some cool gold. I just don't know what to spin with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had
Well-
a very bad grasp of the English language, but that wasn't the comedy. The comedy came from, I gave him plots for scripts that not even the greatest playwright in the world could have done well. They were just seeded with terrible things and a lot of cultural references I knew he wouldn't know.
Uh-huh.
So the plays were hilarious, and he was in on it after the first one, in that he understood what the appeal was here, and
Yeah.
so long as I was paying him for scripts, he was happy to.
Yeah, he's
write
like,
them.
all right.
Yeah. But
That's
he still
amazing.
messages me from time to time. He wrote an autobiography that he was trying to show me, and he wanted me to fly him to the States and give him a job at one point, but I
Yeah.
couldn't.
You're like, that's a whole other level of
Yeah, I wish I could. He's a nice guy, but yeah.
So BLEWT is your production company, and the motto or the slogan is comedy to delight and confuse.
Yeah.
And I think that's so accurate. Like, that's the most correct.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's really the filter for, and when we call it a production company, it was at times, right? We had, when we were putting on Steve Gadlin's Star Makers, which you were a guest on, if I recall.
Was indeed.
Yes.
I have. Look what. Oh, you won't be able to see it. Hang on, I can do. Or you'll be able to see it. You won't be able to hear it. Okay, let me see
Okay.
if I can play. I'm just gonna
nice.
play your introduction
Oh, wow.
to the setup to my thing.
There's a real crazy type of singing that uses technology
Let's see if
and
this is even
computers to sound really
I
cool.
can hear it.
It's the type
of
of
singing
singing you'd expect a robot to use if it came down from outer space and wanted to soothe your spirits before zapping you with some sort of robot alien laser weapon.
The hell?
Don't be afraid. This is no alien robot. It's a woman from Earth named Rebecca Marquardt. Or is she? Go. Now I'm a little scared.
The hell?
Not too scared to enjoy this exciting type of new music.
And then I'm not even gonna play the clip because this was such a freaking disaster because
Oh, we had technical problem.
yes, I realized, so this whole thing was on like an actual sound stage in Chicago. This was a legit production in like a
Yeah.
TV making place.
Yeah.
And like 10 minutes before I was supposed to go on, I realized that I forgot this adapter that would let me use my fancy microphone and my nice headphones where I would actually be able to hear what I was doing. And I was just like, and I had nothing. And I was running around. I was like, does anybody have headphones that have a headphone jack? And will you let me use them? And Fuzzy was like, I have these. And I was like, yes, that's what I'm using.
Yeah.
And I'm like so grateful for him because I literally wouldn't have been able to do any of it.
But
but
that's
so I
what that
couldn't-
show is made of. Like, just technical fails one after another.
It was insane. But my favorite is when I looked at this again today and I was reading the comments and I was like,
Oh, no.
cringe. I was like, okay, cringe. 100%. Somebody commented that even on my Biggie cover when it went viral.
Sure.
The alternate, this is what happens when you go to hell. This needs to be viral. It's so bad. And then I don't know what the baseball bat is the excuse means. That one is beyond me.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
it's like maybe that's
crazy.
a reference to something that I don't know.
Yeah.
That show
The
is
baseball
so
bat
much
is the excuse. I don't get what that means.
I don't know.
You know what? This is yeah, so that I'd say like BLEWT was a production company at times for sure. And you know, we had a group of awesome people like Fuzzy Gertis and Erica Reed and a ton of other people who would come together and help make these things happen. I wish it had lasted in that type of scope, you know, but what it is now, like Talking Funny is just something I throw together on my computer.
It's just yeah.
I've got the BLEWT logo, so I run it before the show. It's got a cool jingle and I really dig it. But it doesn't, you know, it's sad to me that it's a group of people and we're not doing much live performance together anymore. And I don't know if we will or what, but yeah, so it was really like a bunch of people making funny stuff and we would throw BLEWT on it to make it feel like it was part of something
legit or so. Yeah.
For sure. Which I realized later that's all anyone ever did with anything. Call it a company, which is a main thing. And
hey, that's what companies are. They're just things that get made up and you put a label on it, and sometimes it goes great, and other times it's like, all right.
Yeah.
I think in general it's hard. Like, one of the struggles that I'm having is just like as I get older and I feel like I just don't have that same energy to just throw myself at things, and I want to spend more time doing the personal life stuff. But like, in some ways I wish that I had just focused on like establishing like a real career and finding a job that it was like, oh, I want to be here as my actual career, instead of just like, well, this will pay the bills and it'll afford me the ability to take some classes at IO and Second City and wherever. Because then it's like, oh man, I would love to be able to just slow down and focus on my personal life. But then I'm like, I don't even know what that looks like. Like, I feel like my whole life has been so tied up in creative projects. But I also understand where it's like, oh, yeah, not everybody wants to keep making the things 24/7. So when you're like, come on, guys, this will be the thing, and then I can calm down and slow down, and it's like, oh, no, but they've already moved on. And I'm just like, wait for me.
Yeah, you know what? It's tricky. Like, I've got the day job, and I always envy people who don't. Right. So all the day job did was really corner me into a lifestyle that I now need a day job to support. So it makes the leap to, you know, like when the cat drawing stuff happened, I could have quit my day job and done that full time and maybe focused more on growing it in cool and creative ways. But I was scared to, because I had 3 kids and a mortgage to pay. So, you know, there's something to be said for not settling into that type of comfort. And it really does give you the freedom to have an idea and just freaking chase it. And that's when something's going to happen, right?
My whole thing right now is like, because I'm spending so much time at home, like I have a lofted bed frame. So my bed is literally directly above my head right now. Yeah. And then my office setup is built into my bed frame. So it's like, I spend probably 22 and a half hours a day in the same like 5 by 6 square foot area. And like, now I'm starting to lose my mind because before, at least it was like, oh, I leave and do my day job, my retail gig or whatever. And then I come home and I work on the things. But now I'm here all the time. And I'm still living with 2 roommates, and I've got so I'm trying to figure out like, all right, how do I get myself into a lifestyle that feels a little more sustainable for my 36-year-old introvert hermit self, while also doing the creative stuff. So like trying to juggle, like New York is not a place that I need to be right now. It's definitely the place I want to end up long term, but I could just leave for a year and go anywhere and try to keep developing stuff somewhere else.
That's true, especially right now. Yeah. It's not, hitting the right comedy clubs. No one's doing that. So
Yeah. Well, and even if they were open, that's like,
yeah.
I don't think I'm a comedian. Like, I don't know that I've ever been a comedian. It's just like, I like comedy.
Yeah.
But for me, like like when I see a comedian that I really like, I'm like, okay, how can I build a dramedy around this person's comedic persona? Like,
That's
how do I make a
awesome.
feature film starring this comic and
Yeah.
give them an opportunity to like play a more dramatic role or something? And I love improv. I want to use re-improv, like the Second City approach, as supposedly Second City approach of like re-improvising scenes to develop the script, and you know,
Yeah.
but that requires having that like community of comedy people around you or who are willing to trust you and say like, yeah, I'll help develop this thing with you when you can't pay them for their time.
Yeah. No, that's but I think too what you have that is very valuable is, you know, there are a lot of people out there who want to be doing things who aren't because they don't know how to set up a stream. They don't know how to set up a podcast. They don't know how to make a YouTube video, you know, and they're not going to pay attention to the details that are required to do that well. Right. So
yeah.
That's unfortunate though. And I don't mean to pigeonhole you in that regard at all, because knowing how to do the tech doesn't necessarily mean you want to do it for other people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I get stuck doing that a lot. It's like for my day job, you know, I know how to build websites. So I'm the web guy, and I was the web guy for a long time at a television station where all the other people were making TV and doing cool stuff. And I was building their websites because they didn't know how to. I don't
You're
want
like, no, but I'm really good at that stuff too. Like, can I please also do that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's tricky.
That's been an interesting thing that I'm trying to figure out for myself lately. Like, so I've been streaming shows for Brooklyn Comedy Collective, and I'm just the tech person, and I make sure that and you know, it's fun. It gives me an opportunity to connect with other people. I'm actually like hosting my own show, which is great. Like, cool. There are a lot of good things that can come from it, and it's a paying gig, which is nice. But like, you can't really have much creative input on a show when you get the running order the night before, and then you meet with the performers 30 minutes before the show starts, and then it's go time, you know? So it's like, no, I'm just the tech person. So it's been an interesting thing of like, I met Deanna Moffat pretty early on in the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And she was doing The Antidote, and she'd been streaming it to Facebook just direct from Zoom. And I was like, oh, you know, there's this software that you can use. And I didn't know about StreamYard at the time yet. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, it's OBS. It's great, blah, 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 you know. And she was like, yeah, will you teach me I'll pay you to teach me how to use it.
That's amazing.
And so we did a session, and she was like, yeah, I'm never going to do this. What would you charge me to just do this for me?
That's awesome.
And I was like, well, like, are you willing to let me have some creative input on the show? And would you be willing to just swap me for like coaching services? Because she's a great coach. And I was like, I could use a little guidance in my life right now.
Sure. So are you doing that now?
Yeah, so we swapped services, and I've contributed a lot of like creative ideas, like the structure of how the Facebook stuff works. Like, that was all stuff I brought to the table, where I was like, I think we need to do it like this. And she was like, great, let's do it like that. And I was like, I think I want to completely rebuild how the structure is. And she was like, great, go for it. And she was like, can you add closed captions? And I was like, I don't know, probably. And then I watched some tutorial videos, and I was like, all right, we have captions this week. And she was like, okay.
That's amazing that you're typing that all so quickly too. That's
while playing Tetris. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible.
No. I have seen some live streams where I think somebody is typing it because the captions happen like 15 seconds after the words.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't imagine, like, I type fast, but I can't imagine like being an active participant while also I don't know.
Yeah. What's driving Tetris right now?
My original NES Nintendo.
And that's hooked up just to a TV, and you're...
No. Okay, so get ready.
All right.
So we have Tetris. Tetris goes to a little box that goes from like the RCA, like the old plugs that plugged into the 80s televisions, to an HDMI out. And then that goes to an HDMI splitter. One of them goes into a computer monitor so that I can watch it because I don't actually own a TV. And then the other one goes into a capture card on my computer to be able to go into OBS. But then I have another capture card for my camera. And then I have all kinds of other stuff happening to get you in from Zoom.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's like
That's incredible.
I'm really glad that my cables are like hidden enough that I can't see them, because if I could see them, I would never sleep again. Like I would be like, how do I organize this and make this look nicer, because it's a disaster.
Yeah. Well, my next challenge for you, Rebecca, then is do this with a way where your guest is also playing Tetris simultaneously.
Oh.
Or
well, then I have to have somebody who has Tetris and can get the RC. Like I think I would have to mail them a bunch of gear.
Or find some multiplayer Tetris game on a website and then capture the visuals there and have both be logged into it at the same time. Or
that would be nice.
Or
I gotta figure that out, because they have like the new Tetris or the new NES mini whatever thing that has an HDMI output.
Yeah.
Like that could be an
Doesn't have
option,
Tetris.
but it doesn't have. I was so mad.
Yeah.
Like I actually was looking into that before I bought all these other cables and things, because I was like, that would be so much easier. And they were like, you have to actually like hack into its system and do this and that and the other, and then you can illegally download games to it. And I was like, I can't illegally download something and then play it all over the internet. Like that is not.
Sure you can.
I was like, how are you doing that? Don't worry.
That's hilarious.
Or maybe I did that and then I came up with this alternate explanation for how I'm doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
awesome.
wild. I thought we got to wrap up soon, because I don't want to keep you here all night. I know you do have like a whole life and lots of people around who are probably like, how long are you going to be in there again? I don't know. I wrote committing to bad ideas, which is not bad ideas, but ideas that, like, I think it's that same thing. I'm just like following that creative, like since starting this, which this is a thing I'm really proud of. I feel really good about it. I can see the potential of finding an audience that's into it, but also every single time I do this, I lose like a dozen or more subscribers, because they're like, this is not what we came here for.
Oh yeah.
So it's like that weird, like that, like, oh man, finding that new path. I don't know
that, there's a great value in finishing a project and just committing to it. And when I say finishing, I don't mean calling it done. I mean, like actually following through and making it happen for a long time. So I think the real meaningful follower growth is always like slower than anyone wants it to be. Those quick bursts are great for the moment, but they don't they don't feed
There's
you.
no longevity in that.
Yeah. So with Talking Funny, for instance, we did that show 15 years ago. So now we're
and that was like public access, right? Like it was on
access,
TV, a cable. Okay.
And I'm joking, because we probably had more people watching when we were on cable access than we do now that we're streaming.
Well, because at least on cable access, it's like there's a limited number of things that you can watch. Like
right.
That impressed me to no end, that like Steve Gadlin Star Makers was on TV. It's like
hard.
maybe I can't tell people like, oh, go check out NBC Friday night at 7:00, but it was like, oh, but it's on a TV channel. Like that's amazing.
Yeah,
Whereas the internet, it's like there's just so much stuff out there that it's like just connecting and finding the people in the first place is like.
Well, yeah, it's a smaller field. You connect with a whole different type of people, and it's a shrinking group of people too. I think when we were doing Star Makers on local television in Chicago, we were running it at 2 a.m, and we were paying $25 for that time slot. $25 to run at 2 a.m. on like a Tuesday night, and it wasn't worth any more than that. For sure.
Yeah.
In terms of number
That's
of people
amazing.
watching, a number of people acting on what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Our game there it's primarily an online show, but we want some of our audience to be people who flipped channels at 2 a.m. and said, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah. What's going on? And then they
real?
just can't turn it off because it's like, huh?
Yeah. And with Talking Funny, we don't have that. People are only coming to see the show if they know what it is.
Like on purpose.
Yeah. And that's a shame. It was more fun when it was cable access, where we'd get some people tuning in like all right.
Yeah, it's almost like you're Zoom bombing their TV or something. Like they expect to like tune into TV and see a certain thing, and then they're like, huh? How did this get onto my TV? And it's like, haha, because I paid $25 and I asked for it.
That's right. Yeah. And with the cable access stuff, it was free. Anyone could do it. You just had to be connected to a nonprofit. So
what was the nonprofit you were connected
the Playground.
to? Oh,
and we talked about the Playground maybe
sense.
once or twice on the show. and then that was it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the right avenue is for any of this crap anymore. I'm just happy to be able to stream from my basement, and
Yeah.
just hope we keep growing the show, and
Yeah.
yeah, but we'll see.
I think that's the goal for me, is figure out how to have a platform that, I mean, essentially like a playground theater, where it's like anytime you come to this YouTube channel, once it gets up and running, that every night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, something is going to be on. And you might not know what it's going to be, but it's going to be good people doing something that you haven't seen before. Like, that's the goal, So it's like, I got to build to that, though. It's like, start with something. And I'm like, oh, I'll do this game show. And then I'm like, I'm an ideas person. I get too distracted by the next shiny idea. Like, I get so far in, and then I'm like, or this, that looks way better. And it's, I don't know.
I think there's a great opportunity in creating a good live streaming game show. And I say that, I know that, what was that stupid one everyone played on their iPhone for a long time? That HQ Trivia was huge.
Oh, I don't know that one. I'm not good with phone games. I play like the two, like Solitaire and the one other.
Yeah. So it was a live game show that you watched on your phone and you could participate in. And there was like 15 trivia questions, and it showed you how many people were still in. And if you got it right, you got to go to the next one. And the live host making jokes like, all right, there's only 300 people left, and one of them is Toby from Chicago. And it was really cool.
Nice.
But I think a more structured, like old school game show on live streaming would be great, with actual cash prizes, with the type of tech we have behind us right now, some sharp graphics and sound effects. And that's kind of, I've been working on trying to figure out how to crack that. And for a while I was going to do a Starize league, like set up.
What is that?
Starize is like, where you stare and the first person to blink loses, or the first person to smile loses, and have people craft these like wrestling personas and have this huge freaking tournament for cash. And it petered out. But I think there's fun opportunity somewhere in game show with live streaming, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling now.
No, please, that's literally this entire show is rambling.
Oh yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. There's so much going on. I'm gonna stop playing so I can actually talk to you. Yeah. I don't know. I think you're so creative, and I think you just have these brilliant ideas that I think there's comedians that do comedy that they try to create for comedians.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, the goal is like, just make it as weird as you can. And it makes comedians laugh, but then real audiences are like, if my mom watched it, she'd be like, I don't understand what's happening. Like this, so it's like, I love when people are able to do the comedy that works for comedians, that comedians geek out on and love. But then an audience is also like, wow, this is really weird, but I'm laughing a lot, so I guess I like it.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the stuff that you do falls into that, where it's like comedians love it because it is totally outside of the box, but it works. Like, people enjoy it. Like, I don't know what the magic is there, but it just like.
I mean, back then though, the thing we were rebelling against were these improv shows that always had wacky, crazy names that had nothing to do with what the show was, right? And you're like, hey, come see Kung Fu Gorilla Snake, and they're okay. I'll see that. But what is that? Sounds
we
exciting.
do heralds.
Yeah, but it's not exciting. It turns out. This is very boring.
Just a herald. All right.
So
cool.
yeah, we were trying to do let's create a show that has an actual structure to it that an audience gets. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there's a winner at the end, and everyone can understand that. So comics liked it because they can invite people to it and know, oh, it's a thing you watch. It's not experimental. This is a thing. You watch it, and you know when it's done, and you know when to laugh. And with apes and Don't Spit the Water, and like those shows, it was all about just let's build a structure, and make sure the audience is invested in it, and I don't know, that stuff was always fun. I miss getting to do that stuff on stages.
That's Impress These Apes. For the 3+ however many people might be watching on Facebook, people watching right now. Impress These Apes, it was a talent contest, and every week the comedians competing would have like an assigned challenge, like make a piece that reenacts your birth. And you could kind of make it in any format you wanted. If you wanted to make a song, you could make a song, or you could make a video or a live performance thing. And then the contest was judged by hyper intelligent apes. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, hyper intelligent apes from the future.
From the future. Okay.
Basically, a Hollywood Squares panel of 1970s style celebrities in ape costumes with a stupid, meaningless backstory. But that was fun too. It was a boot camp for performers, and again gave them an opportunity, like, hey, over 8 weeks you're gonna make a video, you're gonna choreograph a dance, you're gonna sing a song, you're gonna do some stand-up, and you'll have a week to do all that stuff. And so that one was always, and I think I saw some of the coolest performances I've ever seen just behind an ape mask.
It's impressive what you can accomplish when you don't have time to doubt yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the best sketch comedy show I was ever involved in, Joe Janes directed it was a 24-hour project at Second City. And so I think it was 8 actors and like 10 or 11 writers met at 7 p.m. on Friday. We had nothing written. We had no game plan. We spent an hour, like the performers just did improv. And then we went around and we said, like, these are roles that I've played a lot of. And this is something I've never gotten to play, but that I would like to play. And then here are my other skill sets that I bring to the table. And then the writers went around and they drew numbers. So it was like, oh, you got the opening number, so you need to write a song for the entire cast.
Wow.
And then it was like, you got the second scene, so it needs to be more of like a heart-to-heart scene between these 2 actors. And then they went home and they wrote until, I think they had to have like first drafts in by like 3:00 in the morning. And then Joe did like rewrites and sent stuff back and forth. And by 7:00 in the morning, the actors had all of their scripts. And then we had to memorize it all. And then we did the show at 7 p.m. Wow. So it was like tech was at 4, we ran the show, and then we did the show at 7. And it was just so fun, because the writers didn't have time to be like, well, should I do this? Like, this is kind of weird. No, it was just like, nope, that's just what I have to do. Yeah. And then as an actor, you were like, I'm going with this choice. And I don't have time to change. So I'm just going to commit to it and go hard because, what else have I got?
Oh, that's great. That's a really fun project. I think one of my improv teams did that. We decided for one of our slots, we were going to do a sketch show, and we just met 24 hours before it started and tried to pull an all-nighter and write it, and it was probably one of the worst things I've ever done on stage, but again, it was good to know that it existed. And
exactly. That's funny. I feel like we should end so I can let you go, but I also feel like I could just chat with you all day.
Well, thank you. I do have to put some children to bed.
Yes, they do need that
how
sometimes.
To do that themselves yet. So
How old are they now?
My daughter is 13.
Okay, I was like, I think she's a
2
teenager.
Boys. Yeah, I got a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old boy.
Man.
Yeah, it's insane. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of like what has always impressed me with your stuff is like knowing that it's like you have a grown-up job and you have kids, and yet like when I was making the list of all the things that you've done, where I was like, he's done all of this stuff in the last 10 years and he made like whole humans. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's you always just have to allow yourself to suck at 2 or 3 of the things you're doing. And then you can get a lot of things done. Just give yourself permission to be a total failure at some of them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's as a parent, and sometimes it's not, but it helps. It helps if you allow yourself that.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope we can find something we can make together and
heck yeah.
Brainstorm a beautiful live stream game show.
Let's make a game show. Let's do it.
With Tetris in the background. Just because, I just want to like cross promote so that way when they see that they'll be like, "What is this Tetris?" And I'll be like, "Come watch my game show."
Perfect.
That would be a terrible idea.
I appreciate you having me on. It was awesome to reconnect with you, Rebecca. So
absolutely.
I love what
okay,
you're doing.
so
Keep doing stuff.
everybody can. Yeah, thank you. I'm trying. Everybody should check out Talkin' Funny 2020.
Yeah,
because that is
talkinfunny2020.com
is the website, or just Google Talkin' Funny 2020.
Yeah,
that's the right now thing. But if they search BLEWT Productions, they will find old videos of all kinds of different projects.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole I don't wish on anyone.
I see, but that's the thing is I think the audience that came to my channel for my YouTube videos and the little bit of my audience that still watches my stuff like would be 100% into the stuff that you make.
All right.
So
well, cool
yeah,
beans.
so go down that rabbit hole. If you want to watch my train wreck of a first looping performance, Steve Gadlin, Star Makers, Rebecca Marquardt, Google that and you'll be
I'm
like,
gonna watch
wow.
it right after this.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, boy, she came a long way.
Oh man. Well, all right. Well, be well, Rebecca. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Hang on one second. I'm gonna wrap this show up. Yay, we did it. All right, bye, internet.